Journey to the West, an audio drama series. Chapter 23, Part 2. We speak of the fool who was pulling the horse around. He did not graze the horse where there was grass, however, but instead urged the horse to head for the back gate of the manor. What he saw was the madam along with 3 young women idly standing outside the back door, having fun while appreciating the chrysanthemum blossoms. The mother and daughters saw Bajie approach, and the 3 girls quickly went back inside. The woman then stood outside the door and asked, "Where are you going, young elder?" The fool threw away the rein before going up to politely gesture and greet, saying, "Mother, I came to graze the horse." The woman said, "Your master was rather too fussy. How is becoming a son-in-law for my family not better than being Mandakan hurrying westward?" Bajie laughed and said, "They are bound by the imperial edict of the Tang emperor. They dare not go against imperial orders, so they won't agree to such an arrangement. Just now they were all making fun of me in the front living room, and I was caught in a bit of a dilemma. I only fear that mother will find my long snout and huge ears rather unpleasant." The woman said, "I don't mind that. It's just that this household is missing a family head. We can do with just taking one man, but I'm afraid my daughters might find you a bit too ugly." Bajie replied, "Mother, do inform your dear daughters to not choose their men this way. Think about that Tang monk of mine. He might look handsome, but he's not of any use at all. I'm ugly and I know it, but I've got the rhymes for you." The woman asked, "What do you have to say?" Bajie explained, "I may look ugly, but with diligence I can get things done. Huge swaths of fields, you say, and no ox needs to plough that front. All it takes is my rake, and seeds will grow by the seasons. When there is no rain, I'll make rain and call wind when there is none. If you find the house too small, I will add stories more than one. When the floor isn't being swept, I will make sure it is swept. When the ditches are blocked, I will make them run. Anything that goes on in this house, with immense powers, I am more capable than anyone." The woman said, "Since you are so capable of housework, you should go discuss it with your master again. If this isn't too difficult for you, we will take you in." Bajie replied, "No need to discuss with him. He's not my birth parent. Whether I do this or not is all up to me." The woman said, So be it. Let me tell my girls." She then slipped inside and shut the back door with a bang. Bajie didn't bother grazing either and dragged the horse back to the front. Who would have thought that great sage Sun was well aware of everything that went on? He turned his wings and flew back before returning to his original form. He first went to see the Tang monk, telling him, "Master, Wu Neng is pulling the horse back." The elder said, "If the horse is not pulled, I'm afraid it will run away on a whim." Xingzhe broke into laughter and recounted from the very beginning what went on between the woman and Bajie. Sanzang wasn't so sure to believe it or not. Soon enough, they saw the fool drag the horse over and have it tied up. The elder asked, "Did you graze the horse?" Bajie answered, "There was no good grass. Nowhere to graze the horse." Xingzhe asked, "Nowhere to graze the horse, but somewhere to trade it, right?" The fool heard his words and realized he was exposed. So he just lowered his head and turned his neck, pouting and frowning without a word. Suddenly, with a creak, the swinging door flung open. Accompanied by 2 pairs of red lamps and 1 set of incense burner, amidst fragrant fog and clinking jade, the woman walked out with her 3 daughters. Zhenzhen, Ai Ai, and Lian Lian were asked to greet the scripture seekers. In a row, the girls stood in the middle of the living room and prostrated to those above. They were certainly fair. Look at them. Their brows were a sight to see, as spring could be felt from their pink faces. Glamour enough to topple a nation, beauty so great it shook a man's heart. Their makeup and sashes were out of this world. Their half-smiles were like cherry and slow steps puffing aroma. Pearls and jade piled on their heads. Their entire bodies gave out a mysterious and pleasant scent. Speak nothing of the beauties and legends of the past. They truly were the immortal maidens coming down from heaven. Sanzang pressed his palms together and kept his head down. Great Sage Sun acted as if he saw nothing. Sha Monk turned his back against the rest. Look at Zhu Bajie, though, who locked his eyes on the women as his lustful heart began going wild and his lewd nerves let loose. Fidgeting, he muttered, "Thank you, immortal maidens, for taking the trouble to descend upon us. Mother, please ask the sisters to leave." And so the three girls disappeared behind the dividing screen, leaving behind a pair of gauze lamps. The woman asked, "Elders, all four of you, have you been thinking? Which among you shall be betrothed to my girls?" Wu Jing answered, "We had our discussion and decided to let the one named Zhu to be your in-house son-in-law." Ba Jie retorted, "Brother, don't you mess with me. We shall have an open discussion about this." Xingzhe urged, "What is there to discuss? You already settled the whole business at the back door. You even call her mother. What more is there to discuss? Let master be the groom's family, and this madam here the bride's family. Elder Sun be the witness, and Sha Monk can act as matchmaker. No need to check the calendar, for today is the most blessed day of fortune. Come give master a bow so you can go inside and be their son-in-law." Ba Jie said, "I can't do this, I simply can't. How could I do such a thing?" Xingzhe said, "Fool, don't you try to cover up. I lost count of how many times you called her mother. What do you mean you can't do this? Go say yes now so we can at the very least enjoy a wedding feast for your sake." Seizing Ba Jie with one hand and another hand clutching the woman, he said, "Mother-in-law, take your son-in-law inside." The fool's feet looked rather hesitant as he stumbled forward. The woman then called over the servant boys and said, "Put up tables and chairs and wipe them clean. Arrange a vegetarian dinner to entertain the three relatives-in-law. I shall bring my son-in-law inside." In the meantime, she also asked the cooks to arrange a feast to serve the relatives the following morning. The servant boys took the orders and got to work. The three had their vegetarian meal and, in somewhat of a hurry, rested soundly in their guest seats. We will speak no more of that. We now go to Ba Jie, who was following his mother-in-law into the inner quarters. Layer after layer, there was no knowing how many buildings there were. Bumping and tripping over thresholds, the fool asked, "Mother, go slower. I'm not familiar with the ways around here. Do guide me on." The woman answered, "These are all granaries, storage rooms, grinding rooms, and the likes. We're nowhere near the kitchen yet." Ba Jie exclaimed, "This house is huge." Bumping into things and stumbling around corners, they reached the inner quarters after a long while. The woman said, "Son-in-law, your elder brother said today is a most blessed day of fortune, so I decided to take you in. However, it was done in haste, and I have not yet managed to find a fortune-teller and conduct the proper ceremonies. You might as well just bow 8 times to the above to make up for it." Ba Jie agreed by saying, "Mother, you are very right. Please take the honor seat and let me bow to you a few times. That would count as both the wedding ceremony and visit to thank my family-in-law. To do 2 things with one single gesture, how convenient is that?" His mother-in-law laughed and said, "So be it, so be it. What a very efficient and capable son-in-law indeed. I'll sit down and you can make your bows." Alas! Filling the room was the glorious light of silver candles as the fool bowed to the one above. Once he was done, he asked, "Mother, which sister are you betrothing to me?" His mother-in-law said, "That is my concern. If I betroth my eldest daughter to you, I fear my second daughter will get upset at me. If I betroth my second daughter to you, I fear my third daughter will get upset at me. If I betroth my third daughter to you, I fear my eldest daughter will get upset at me. That's why I have not made up my mind yet." Ba Jie suggested, "Mother, if you fear a fight, why not just betroth them all to me? It will save you all the quarreling and bickering that might break the family apart. His mother-in-law said, How does that even make sense? Do you alone intend to take all 3 of my daughters? Bajie explained, Mother, listen to what you're saying. What man goes about without a harem of women under their name? Even if there are more, your son-in-law will happily take them in all the same. When I was younger, I mastered a trick called prolonged warfare. I promise I will make every single one of them happy and satisfied. The woman said, That won't do, that won't do. I've got a piece of handkerchief here. Put it on top of your head to cover your face. Let heaven determine whom you shall marry. I will let my daughters walk in front of you. Whoever you can clutch when you reach out your arms will be betrothed to you. The fool agreed to her plan and accepted the handkerchief before placing it on his head. Once he was ready, he said, Mother, please ask the sisters to come out. His mother-in-law thereby called, 真真, 爱爱, 连连, come out and let heaven decide who gets a husband. He could hear jade accessories clinking against each other and pick up a sweet scent as if immortal maidens were walking about. The fool indeed reached out to clutch them. He was grappling left and right but getting nothing in either direction. People came and went and there was no telling how many girls were moving. All he knew was that he couldn't even touch a single one of them. In the east, he hugged the foot of a pillar, and in the west, he hit himself on the wall. Dizzy from all the running around, he could barely keep himself up. Falling over, he kicked the doors at the front and hit the bricks at the back. He bumped around and ended up with a swollen mouth and bruised head. Sitting on the ground, he said between pants, Oh, Mother, your daughters are quite slick. I couldn't grab a single one of them. What should I do? What should I do? The woman pulled off his cover and said, Son-in-law, my daughters are not slick. They're just really humble with each other and refuse to take you for themselves. Bajie said, Oh, Mother, if they wouldn't take me, why don't you take me instead? The woman exclaimed, What a son-in-law! Have you no sense of hierarchy and want to marry your mother-in-law too? These 3 daughters of mine are all quite intelligent. They each sewed a brocade undershirt inlaid with pearls. Try them on and marry whoever made the shirt that fits you then. Bajie said, Fine, fine, very fine. Bring all 3 of them out for me to try on. If they all fit, then I will marry all 3 of them. The woman then went inside and brought out just one shirt, before handing it to Bajie. The fool took off his dark brocade shirt, tidied his clothes, and put it on himself. He wasn't even done tying it up when he fell onto the ground with a loud thump. It turned out to be several ropes that had him tightly bound. The fool was in unbearable pain, but everyone was long gone from his sight. We speak now of Sanzang, Xingzhe, and Sha Monk, who woke up from a night's sleep and found the east already lighting up. When they opened their eyes and looked up, what was left were no houses or halls, carved beams, or decorated pillars. They were all sleeping in a forest of pines and cypress. Panicking, the elder called Xingzhe over as Sha Monk shouted, Big brother, that's it! We've encountered ghosts! Great Sage Sun was well aware of what went on, so he smiled and asked, What do you mean? The elder said, Look at where we've been sleeping. Xingzhe said, We are quite comfortable and happy in this pine forest. I wonder, however, where that fool has been suffering. The elder asked, Who are you saying is suffering? Xingzhe laughed and said, This family of mother and daughters from yesterday, you see, were some kind of bodhisattva who transformed to test us. I assume they all left in the middle of the night, only leaving poor Bajie behind to suffer. Sanzang heard his words and prayed with his palms pressed together. Then they saw a note was hanging loosely on an aged cypress tree behind them. Sha Monk quickly went over and took it off to show his master. It consisted of 8 lines of chants. There were no worldly ideas on the mind of elderly mother of Mount Li. She was invited to leave her mountain by Bodhisattva of the South Sea. Samantha Patlu and Manjushri were both guests. In the forest, they all transformed into beauties. The divine monk is virtuous and had no secular thoughts. But Ba Jie had no Chan within him, only more desires and needs. Do calm his heart from now on and change his ways. For if he slacks off, the road ahead will grow harder indeed. As the elder Xingzhe and Sha monk were reading the chants aloud, they could hear a voice shouting loudly from the depth of the forest. "Oh, master, this bondage is killing me. Please save me. I dare not do this again next time." Sanzang asked, "Wukong, could that be Wu Neng calling?" Sha monk said, "It sure is him." Xingzhe said, "Brother, don't you pay any attention to him. Let's just leave." Sanzang said, "The fool may be stupid and stubborn, but that's because he's simple-minded and straightforward. He's got quite the strength as well and could carry the luggage with ease. Do consider what Bodhisattva had in mind before and rescue him so he can go with us. I'm sure he will not dare do this again in the future." And so Sha monk rolled up their bedding and packed the luggage as great sage Sun untied the reins and pulled the horse. Together, they led the Tang monk deep into the forest to look for Ba Jie. Alas, this truly was. Follow the right path and cultivate with care you must. You will return to the truth once you sweep away lust. We do not know the fate of the fool. Please wait until the next chapter.